Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the high-powered wall connector versus the NEMA 1450, so that conversation is coming up. So I'm going to cut right to the chase, and my opinion is that the NEMA 1450 is better, but of course I'll go over all the points and why I think that. So to start off, if we're going to compare price, the mobile connector is $230 and the wall connector is $475 from Tesla. So you're already paying double for the wall connector just for equipment. There's a couple of differences between the mobile connector and the wall connector, mainly is speed and mobility. So for comparison, if we were to charge the Model Y on a mobile connector at 32 amps, you're going to get about 27 miles an hour. And if we were to do the same thing on the wall connector at 48 amps, you're going to get about 40 miles an hour charging. So yes, it is an obvious fact that the NEMA 1450 charges slower because you're using the mobile connector at 32 amps. But who cares when you're charging overnight? It's going to take longer, but you're sleeping anyway, so it really doesn't matter. And technically, the slower the charge, the better. Trickle charge is the term that we use because the faster you charge the car, in theory, that's going to degrade the battery more. There's also the mobility factor. So let's just say you like road tripping and you rent an Airbnb or something. On those sites, you can actually filter by homes that have level 2 chargers. And if that's the case, you can filter by that, bring your mobile connector with you, and then you can charge at your destination. And even if they don't have a level 2 charger, a lot of rental homes and places that have garages will have a 120 volt in the garage. So you can actually just use that to get a little bit if you want. And, compared to the wall connector, you obviously can't charge at all because the wall connector is mounted to your garage, not the destination garage that you're going to. For me, there's two scenarios where the wall connector makes sense. One is for cool factor. So if you just like the way the wall connector looks, or maybe you have a Tesla themed garage or something, then yeah, go ahead and get the wall connector and eat the cost as part of your themed garage. And two is if you have two Teslas or just two EVs in general, the wall connectors are smart and they can actually share power. So you can plug in two wall connectors to two cars, and based on the SOC, the state of charge of the cars, the wall connectors will distribute power based on the SOCs, so each car can charge decently fast. But honestly, I think this is kind of silly and a waste of money, to be honest. So as an example, we have two EVs. We have Model 3 and a Rivian R1S, which by the way has a huge battery. And we just have a NEMA 1450, and we've had zero issues charging both cars with just a NEMA 1450, not even a wall connector. So the way we make this work is I work from home, so basically I charge my car, the Rivian, during the day when the sun is out most of the time. And since my wife has one of those jobs where she actually has to go into the office, we'll just charge her car overnight, and that's that. So basically it's like we have our own personal chargers because of when we're charging. I think the only scenario where this really makes sense is if you both have like jobs where you have to go into the office and you both have long commutes, so you have to charge both cars overnight pretty frequently. Then yeah, maybe it makes sense to have two wall connectors where it can share the power. But what you could do instead is just put in two NEMA 1450s, and if you have enough amperage on your service, you could charge them both at 32 amps. Or if you want to be on the safe side, just charge both cars at like 24 amps so you don't blow your breaker panel, and you should be good to go. There's also install cost. So around here, the NEMA 1450 costs $500 if you're going to put it right next to your panel. And the same thing, if you have the wall connector and you put it next to your panel, they're going to charge you $700, at least the electricians around here, just because they can. There's no hiding you're rich with your Tesla if you're putting in a wall connector because it's the Tesla wall connector, so they obviously know. Whereas if you have a NEMA 1450, you can have a whatever EV and they'll just charge you the normal rate. So say you have like a Bolt or a Leaf or something, they're just going to charge you the normal rate because you're not rich like you have a Tesla. So for those of you who are going to bring up the argument that if you put in a NEMA 1450 on your 50 amp breaker, you need a GFCI breaker. Well, if you're already paying the Tesla tax, that's $200 right there, which is $200 extra, $500 to $700, which is about the same price as a GFCI breaker. So there's a wash there. And that's assuming you're in an NEC 2020 state. If you're still in an NEC 2017 state, you may just be able to save $200 and not even have to worry about the GFCI breaker. Also keep in mind that if you want the full power of the wall connector, you need to put in a 60 amp breaker. So depending on your home, if it's an older home or say you have a spa or something on your 200 amp service, you may not even be able to put the wall connector on a 60 amp breaker because you have too many other things on your panel that are taking up too much load as it is. So if that's the case, then you may have to put the wall connector on a 50 amp or a 40 amp breaker, which pretty much defeats the purpose because you can't even utilize the full power of the wall connector. You might as well just put a NEMA 1450 at that point. One more note is that most of the standard range Teslas, so pretty much the rear-wheel drive variants, can only charge at 32 amps anyway. So by buying a wall connector, you're pretty much just throwing away money because you can't charge at the maximum power anyways. However, the mobile connector maxes out at 32 amps, so it's a perfect match for you to just get the NEMA 1450, buy the mobile connector, and charge at max power for your variant. One last note is that the NEMA 1450 is a more versatile plug, and that's because it's kind of like the pseudo EV plug, and most of the other brands use the NEMA 1450 as their standard mobile connector, like Rivian, wink wink. So basically if you put in a NEMA 1450, you're going to have more flexibility with other cars you buy, down the road sometime. With the wall connector, you don't really have that much flexibility because you can really only charge Teslas. So you'd have to either spend more money on a NEMA 1450 or spend more money on the universal wall connector, which is kind of new from Tesla, or get a dedicated J1772 solution for your non-Tesla, or get an adapter for your wall connector to be able to charge your non-Tesla. All options that cost you more money than just buying a NEMA 1450 in the first place. So I think it's an educational thing. So I think most people who buy Teslas don't even realize there is a mobile connector that you can use as a home charger. They just buy the wall connector because, surprise, surprise, when you go to Tesla's website, the first charging equipment you see is the wall connector. So if you're a new Tesla owner or are planning on getting one soon, which side are you on? Are you planning on getting the mobile connector or the wall connector with this new information? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.